Hello, beautiful human beings. Gorgeous, gorgeous people. How is everybody today? I hope that wherever you are, you're doing great. Here in Brisbane, we just had some rain and don't know whether it's going to get heavier or whether it's going to stay as is. You never know in Brisbane. So, anyway, wherever you are, I hope you are good. Hope you're having a great day so far or evening. Just shifting my camera around to get everything right. The light is a little bit off today. So today I'm going to talk to you all about a really fascinating, sorry, playing with the video, that's better, a really fascinating subject, which is one of these subjects that I feel is very subtle in most human behavior, and we often don't even notice that we're doing it. Or we get so used to other people doing it around us, we don't notice that either. So, of course, as always, I'm going to highlight things, especially various different subjects relative to human behavior that we can learn, understand, and then improve on, change, shift where we need to recalibrate in our own life so that things can be more easeful, more beautiful, more flowing, more powerful, more connected, more in alignment. So we're going to talk today about projection. All right, so you may have heard this term, stop projecting on me, or stop projecting your feelings on me, or stop projecting how you feel on me, or I'm projecting again. You know, you may have heard the energy of projecting. All right, so we're going to talk about projection, why human beings tend to do it, why it's not useful, why it's not beneficial, and why we really would benefit from moving away from behavioral patterns that really take us into projection. All right, so projection it's an emotional mental defense mechanism. So it can come from the emotional body or the mental body or both. It can be quite psychological, so it can be from that mental space for many, because we are doing it with the mind and we're not aware that we're doing it, and it's coming from that mental space. It's a defense mechanism where a person unconsciously attributes everyone else's behaviors and everyone else's thoughts, feelings, and emotions to their own, right? So, oh, you can probably hear my dog drinking very, very loud. So when a person unconsciously attributes their own thoughts, emotions, or traits onto someone else, and this often happens when individuals struggle to accept feelings about themselves, desires, and aspects of themselves, so they project it out onto others as a way of externalizing them or disowning them, or even a way of avoiding them. Excuse me while I let the dog out. So what we're doing here today is getting really, really clear and really aware of what projection is, so that we can recognize it within ourselves. It is something that comes up in our own behavioral patterns, and we can also recognize it in others when they try to do it to us. So I find it is something that human beings try to do all the time to other human beings, and I hear it so acutely. I'm like, wow, okay, that's a massive projection. Sometimes it's really clear. Projection can be, oh yeah, well, you know, everyone hurts me, or everyone abandons me, or men are all bad, or, you know, all women are a nightmare, you know, so that can be quite obvious. But projection can also be very subtle, where we base our feelings on others, and we might say things like, oh, you look really tired. So if that's true, is that a nice thing to say to someone else? No, it's not compassionate. But also a lot of people are doing that because they're projecting. They feel tired. They suffer with being tired. They connect with being tired. So they think it's okay to say that to someone else because it's a projection. It's often a way to bring somebody else down. Or, oh, you seem so busy. Oh, you're really busy. Don't worry about it. I can see how busy you are. That is projection often as well, because no one else has the right to say what they feel to be true about you if you have not claimed it for yourself. That's projection. And often when I hear that, I'm like, that's your emotional mental state. That might be how you would experience things. That might be how you are experiencing things. But don't put that onto someone else, because that's projection. All right, for example, if someone is feeling insecure, but they don't want to acknowledge it, they might accuse others of being insecure. Or someone who's struggling with anger and they're not ready to own their anger. They might say that everyone else is angry or aggressive or hostile or whatever else they say because they're not ready to own that within themselves yet. If someone's tired all the time and they're not ready to see that as the problem that it actually is, then they might presume you're tired or say that you're tired or say that others are tired around them as a defense mechanism. Same with, that energy of, well, you must be really busy, don't worry about it. You seem really busy. I'll leave you alone. Then that's often how they live their lives, in a state of busyness, maybe not very grounded, maybe all over the place. So they project that on others. The truth is that we are the ones who get to claim how we are and what is going on for us. And no one else can do that. It is rude, it is bad manners, and it is a trauma response when you project your shit onto someone else, no matter how subtle or no matter how obvious. So when someone says to you, oh, you look tired, you don't have to put up with that. Someone else is presuming you look tired, and maybe there's something else going on with you. Could be your hormones, could be that you didn't have a good night's sleep, could be that you are effing tired. But it isn't okay for someone else to say that. Or same with the busyness, or you look this, or you feel this, or you seem this. When someone else says that about you, it is not okay. It is projection, and it is often sometimes a way to bring you down to where they're at. I get tired, so I'm going to say that to you. I suffer from being too busy, so I'm going to say that to you. They're projecting their own emotional, mental world onto you, and it is not okay. Oh, I've got animals. Look what my cat's doing right now. Can you see him climbing where he shouldn't be? Bagheera, you need to get down. You need to get down. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm chasing my cat around. It's a day for crazy animals. So it is not okay for anyone else to project the way that they're feeling on you. They shouldn't project their thoughts on you or their feelings or their opinions. When somebody is doing that and they're doing it on a regular basis, they're often so consumed with their own feelings and their own thoughts that they don't know how to separate that from others. They don't know how to differentiate that from others. Now, I could be talking to you because this could be your own patterns, or could be people around you. But when you have a certain coping mechanism and you have a certain mental way of handling things and a certain emotional way of handling things, you often just presume that others have that, so in your language, it can be quite evident sometimes. Oh, yeah, but you know how when it's really difficult, when you're really busy in the mornings, and that's your stuff, not others. So don't say that that's happening for them. I hear it so subtly often where people say, oh, but you know how hard it is when you get married and you've got to and it's so hard being in a new relationship, and you know how it is. It's like, no, that's your story, not my story. All right. So this is a really evolved way of communicating, is to not communicate from a place of expectation that you know what is going on for other people. Because if you do that, it's not only arrogant and ignorant, it is also egotistical, controlling, and manipulative. So it comes from that space of, if I can control or manipulate the outcome around me by making people feel a certain way, or telling them they feel a certain way, or putting it into their head that they feel or see or think a certain way, then I'm safe. So projection can be a real defense mechanism, and you need to watch it because it can often be subtle. I'm giving you 2 examples that I had for me over the last month from others trying to project themselves on me. 2 really good examples. One of them was, oh, you sound really tired. Oh, you sound so tired. Oh, don't worry about it. You sound tired. I'll leave you alone. And it was like, wow. So you listened to me on a voice message and you presumed I sound tired, and then you said that. And that's a projection, because someone else, maybe they get tired and it affects their voice or their sound or whatever. And then maybe they think that that's the same case for you. Well, that particular morning, I felt amazing. I wasn't tired. I was upbeat. I would never say someone sounds tired, maybe a loving shift in energy for something like that could be, I hope everything's okay with you. Let me know if you want to catch up. How are things in your world? Not, I'm going to project how you're feeling, right? Another one that I had recently, somebody trying to book in and couldn't get the first appointment that they wanted. Oh, you sound so busy. You sound really busy. Are you okay? All right. So you can't get in the appointment that you want with me. So you believe that I am busy. Well, busy is a word that I removed from my vocabulary long ago, because the connotations of the word busy mean we're not in control of it. It means there's too much and we're overwhelmed. All right. So there's that sense of having a lot going on. And I don't relate with that word. If I have a lot happening, I am gratefully full, or I am full. I am so grateful. I am not busy. All right. So don't project your busyness onto others. There are so many ways that people can project, so projection often comes up with the way we feel. So if we feel challenged by a certain thing in a certain situation, we will presume that others also feel the same in that situation. Oh, I felt so anxious. That weather event that happened, for example. My dog, I can't. Come here, baby. All right, so in Brisbane we have flooding and things like that, and we get all of this fear mongering beforehand, and collectively everyone gets scared. Some people rightfully so, because the flood damage has been bad here before. But then somebody is feeling a certain way in that energy, so they feel anxious, for example. So they presume everyone else feels anxious. And if they don't, they have no ability to separate their own emotions from someone else's. So they can actually create anxiety when they communicate with others, because they're just projecting the way they feel on other people. Same token, someone else may feel unaffected by the floods and be very content and feel very safe and like there's no problem. So they then project that onto others, but that's not necessarily how others are feeling. They might be scared. They might be in a flood zone. They might be triggered by the rain or by the thunder. So we do not have the right to project our shit, our stuff, our thoughts, our opinions, our views, our emotions on other people. And to elevate our consciousness and become a conscious communicator, we must step away from projection. It is a big thing. And I know so many people who are in the conscious world, who are in the world of, spirituality and healing and coaching and all of those words. And they are constantly projecting their own opinions and views onto others. And this is not okay, because everyone remains empowered when they are given choice. Everyone remains empowered when they take their own choice. So if somebody else is telling us how it is and they're projecting it onto you, it can be quite overwhelming. It can have brainwashing control. It can limit people. It can keep them stuck. Such a big thing at the moment, and I'm really, really passionate about it. I want everyone to wake up to the fact that projecting your own stuff onto others is not okay. It's not okay in your marriage. It's not okay with your children. It's not okay as a goat. A goat? It's not okay as a goat. It's not okay as a coach or leader or anyone. It's not okay to project. So we have to become really emotionally responsible. And notice, this is my own. This is my emotion. What do I do? How can I work with? Where do I require healing? What can I do to be accountable and responsible to my own emotional state and not to throw that at others? A lot of people project anger. So they feel angry, and so they are then angry in their speech to other people. That's projecting your anger. So if you feel angry and then you're short-tempered with someone, or you snap at them, or you complain at them about something, you complain about, the time or how long it took you to get somewhere, or the traffic or the weather, or you complain about something else. If that's your anger, that's your anger. Do not throw that at other people. You're then projecting your anger outwardly, which means you are unable unable to handle it by yourself, which means there is work to be done, because you are responsible for managing your own anger and not projecting it out at others. All right, so we project for a few different reasons. We project for self-preservation. So the ego resists seeing the parts of ourself that we don't like. So if they are, challenging stuff, if it makes us uncomfortable, if it's shameful, we've viewed it as shameful, or if it's not aligned, or if it's something that we don't want the world to see about us, then we don't really be truthful and authentic about that particular thing. Then we will project to take that level of self-preservation so that we don't have to be truly authentic. We also project for emotional regulation, and this is really harmful. So rather than sitting with our own fear, anger, guilt, greed, envy, whatever's coming up, we throw it out and externalize it because we think that makes it easier for us. Well, that is totally inappropriate and so common. Just every day I see this. People go, oh, I don't know what to do with my own feelings, so I'll throw that out to the world, and I'll either throw it out in a way that is really passive or really explosive and really in your face, or I'll do it in little dribs and drabs, chipping away at people, or I will just do it in this really cryptic way, or I'll do it in this way like, oh, aren't I burdening you? Or aren't I a problem to you? Or, oh, I didn't want to reach out to you because I know. And this is projection. That's your own bullshit. Somebody tells you that it's okay to reach out to them. And if somebody tells you that they're ready to hold space, or they're trying to communicate with you in a way that is really conscious, then it's not your right to project your own ways onto that person by presuming they would do things a certain way. All right, really important. Unconscious patterns, so projection happens automatically, and that can be due to past conditioning, so things we've learned behaviors, ingrained behaviors, what we've learned from our parents, unresolved trauma, and a lot of limiting beliefs. So if we've been taught in our childhood, and as we've grown, if we've been taught to project, that means your parents do it, so you've copied them. Or people around you do it, so you've copied them. Or the church does it, so you've copied them. Or your husband does it, so you've copied them. Why? So on. You've learned to project. So it can be quite hard to break that habit then, because often you don't know you're doing it, and you've learned it from somewhere. And also trauma, we do it because we're protecting ourselves. So if we've had trauma and we are, if we've been hurt in every relationship we've been in, and every man that we've had a relationship with has hurt us or has created trauma for us, then we just go into, look, I hate men, and we start attacking men. That's projection, because we're not visiting the trauma and healing that and realizing that it's not possible that all men are bad. We're actually acting from the trauma and throwing that projection out there. This has happened before, so it's always going to happen again. You're projecting your emotional state onto others. Same as if you've got mental stuff going on and you're all over the place with your mind and you're not clear and you don't have clarity and you're not coherent, and then you throw that at someone else and you expect them to navigate it. Do not give information to others if you're not clear on it. That is not useful, and it is projecting your mental state onto others, and that is not okay. That cognitive bias, so our brains naturally seek patterns and often interpret other behaviors through our own internal lens. So we are actually distorting the reality. So we all have an internal lens, and when we take something in, our brain takes it in our way. And then when we are really unaware of our own mental and emotional state, we then project that back out with this bias. And you can hear it sometimes. Well, you said this. And I will go, no, I didn't say that. Read back over. Because people will twist what they've heard to suit their own mental and emotional capacity, and then project that back at you. And then we find ourselves sometimes, especially narcissistic behavior, a lot of narcissists do that. They project stuff back at you, which is actually distorted reality. And a lot of people do that as well. Now, am I saying that that is, malicious and sort of intentional, sometimes no. Sometimes the trauma response is so distorted that they think that that is reality, and other times it is trying to twist it and alter it so that it's something they believe they can deal with, and to project their world onto your world so that everyone stays in the same place, regardless of whether that place is shitty. A lot of people project because they want to avoid responsibility. They want to avoid getting accountable to their actions, and they want to avoid being responsible for anything. So it's often easier to blame external circumstances or to blame others than to become responsible for your own thoughts and your own emotional disturbance and your own feelings and behaviors. So instead of taking responsibility, we go, project it outwards. I'm not going to take responsibility for that. I'm going to blame the world. It's the world's fault. Okay, well, that happens because I was traumatized when I was a kid. Oh, that happens because of this, and that happens because of this, and I'm not taking responsibility. I am this way because of this trauma, and that's your fault, and that's his fault, and I'm going to blame the world. If it's really heightened and very obvious, then it will be very clear. Oh, no, that's his fault. He did that to me. Oh, no, that's her fault. She did that to me. That boss, she was awful. She traumatized me. You know, all of these things. And it's like, well, hang on. Those things happen, but then how do you bring that back to yourself and become self-responsible? Because you are you, so you can't blame everybody else. Projection, again, comes up when you don't want to take responsibility for what is yours to take responsibility for. So you blame the world. You blame your trauma. You blame your illness. You blame that situation. You blame your previous heart attack. You blame your parents. You blame your upbringing. You blame everything, rather than go, well, actually, I'm responsible for me now. So I need to stop projecting all of these things outward and come in. So awareness of projection is a really powerful step in growing. When we get aware of our projection, we can recognize when we're projecting. We can take responsibility for our own emotions. We can deepen our self-awareness, and we can improve our relationships by seeing others clearly as they are, rather than through the lens of our unprocessed emotions. We can see people for who they are, feel them for who they are, view them for who they are, hear them as they are, instead of filtering through our own trauma, our own disturbance, our own bullshit, which is human, it happens, after filtering them through the lens of our unprocessed emotions and then projecting our own bullshit back on them. All right, so it's a big one, projection, and it's one of those things that so many people don't notice they're doing it subtly. Now, I want you to notice it when you're doing it subtly, because it's really uncomfortable for other people. If you keep presuming how they feel, telling them how they are, telling them how they sound, and telling them this, that, and the other, it's going to become so draining for that person, because they are put out of integrity every single time you do that. It is also really important that you look at why you feel the need to dictate the state of others in your communication. You know, why do you feel the need to say things about other people? You know, I know it must be really, really hard for you to do that. I know it must be really hard. And it's like, well, you don't know that it's really hard because you are not that person. So don't presume. They could be finding it easy, and then they go, oh my God, is there something wrong with me because I'm not finding this hard? You've got to be really mindful. If you say that to somebody, you can really have a negative effect. Same with projecting how you feel people are, or how they feel, or what things must be like for them. This is a real trauma response. So please wake up to it, because it will lose you friends, it will lose you connections, and it will make people wary of actually communicating with you, because they will sometimes feel quite attacked with how you respond to them if you're projecting. You know, and I want to wake everybody up to this, because it's been very heightened in so many of my clients recently, and so many friends around me who are having people project stuff on them, and then they're taking it on, and I'm like, well, hang on, babe, that's not yours. Or hang on, darling, hang on, my friend, that is not yours. Where did that come from? Or such and such said blah, blah, blah. Or I'm like, no, you are in your sovereignty. You are responsible for you. You get to be in the driving seat. No one else gets to project their stuff on you. When people project their feelings onto others and make presumptions, it's because their inner emotional state distorts their perception of reality. And this happens when someone unconsciously assumes that others feel the same way as they do, even when there is no actual evidence to support it. So it's fabrication. It is fabrication, and we've looked at all the reasons why it might happen, but now we've got to get savvy at stopping doing it. So like I notice sometimes when I say to people, contact me anytime, I'm here for that, and maybe you're in one of my programs, so you've paid for that, and they go, oh, but I don't want to be a burden, or no, I don't want to disturb you. I'm like, that is actually projecting. Don't project onto me. You may feel that that would be a burden to you. You may have experienced it being a burden elsewhere. You may have that vibe in you. I don't. I speak my truth. So everything I say, I mean, right? So you cannot presume something about someone else. It's actually disrespectful. When we have that sense of projecting, are we doing it to be malicious? No, there's so many reasons as we've gone through, but it is about being aware of it. I want you to ask yourself that question continuously in your communication. Am I projecting? Don't start sentences with a negative to someone. You look tired. Oh, you don't look well. Oh, are you okay? You look a bit. Don't do that. No, it is not fair. Don't project your way of communicating onto others if it's not powerful. Don't project your way of communicating to others if it's mean. Don't project your way of communicating to others if it's not conscious. And don't project your way of communicating on others if you are just reflecting back to them your own bullshit. So don't do it, because it is harmful, and I want you to wake up to that. Right, some more examples I've written down in my notes here. So if someone feels guilty about something, they may assume others are judging them even when no one is. If someone is feeling anxious, they may assume that others around them are also feeling anxious or nervous. So assume that there is this big collective energy when there actually isn't. If someone is feeling unworthy, they may believe others don't respect them or are dismissing them. All right, so this is their stuff, and then they project their unworthiness out, and then they presume that others are doing things that they are not doing, okay? So this happens because of emotional filtering. Strong emotions color our perception. Instead of seeing the situation objectively, we often see it through our current emotional state. Now, emotion, the word comes from the Latin emovere, to move out. When the emotional state is suppressed and blocked, it means that energy can't flow properly. So it's like dirty, muddy, stuck, stagnant water. So then we try to respond from that place, and we're responding actually from a traumatized emotional realm. So then what comes out to that other person is actually emotional trauma. So that is a big thing with projection. It's like, well, somebody's telling me how great they feel, they're having a good day and they're happy. I feel really sad, so I'm going to project my sadness on them and ruin their day. Don't have the right to do that. If somebody else is having a moment, we've got to get into a space of being able to celebrate them, right? It's not about you. It's about them, okay? The brain also tries to make sense of emotions by creating a narrative, even if it's inaccurate, biased, or completely off. So when we go, oh, but I'm having this trauma, and it's about the current political situation, well, everyone else must be having that same trauma because I'm having it. So I'm going to respond from that place, and I'm going to create this really pretty story of what everyone is feeling about the current political situation, and I'm just going to roll from there. Well, you don't have that power. You can't do that. That's projection. Everyone is allowed their own opinions. Everyone is allowed their own views. And most importantly, they need to be able to discover them for themselves without having projection in their face from dominant friends, dominant partners, dominant sources of information. Lack of self-awareness, when we're disconnected from our emotions and they're unprocessed and they're traumatic and they're blocking us, we might unconsciously project them onto others instead. So a lot of projecting is unconscious. We're not aware we're doing it. But that's why I'm bringing this to life now, is because you need to be aware they're doing it. I know the beautiful two women who projected some stuff on me in this last month. They didn't mean to. It's their own trauma. It's their own stuff. But it would be lovely if they're able to see it, and these are just people through social media I don't really have a lot to do with, so don't need to communicate with them. But also even more the reason that they should not speak out of turn to another person because it's disrespectful, but also projecting their stuff onto someone else is harmful. So it's important to see it. We need to become self-aware. Avoidance of vulnerability. It's also easier for some to assume that others feel a certain way rather than to sit with our own discomfort and process it. So if we assume everyone's got it, oh, everyone has this kind of stress, that's easier for me. That's not true. Everyone doesn't have that kind of stress. Everyone is different. Everyone has everything different, right? So when we look at it that way, it is important that we are being mindfully aware that we do not have the power to dictate how everybody else feels and experiences life. That is projection. The problem with presuming, it leads to lots of misunderstanding, conflict, and unnecessary tension. And it also prevents us getting deeply connected. So you'll find friendships will really struggle when someone is always presuming about the other. All right, so it must be so hard. Oh yeah, I feel for her, and what a hard life she's having. And stop presuming, because people won't want to connect with you. We don't want to connect with others when they're presuming. It feels artificial, inauthentic, and it feels imbalanced. It also, presuming keeps people stuck in their own emotional patterns instead of allowing them to wake up to them and see clearly, like to wake up and smell the coffee. We prevent people doing that when they are really kind of in that place of, I guess, presuming everything is a certain way. So when they're stuck in that, they don't actually wake up and see what's going on within themselves, because it's being allowed around them, and it's being facilitated around them to stay stuck. So we must break the pattern, all right? So breaking that pattern of projecting is to make sure that we're always checking in. All right, is this how I really feel? Is this really mine, or is it my stuff that I'm throwing at them? How do I really feel about this situation? Should I actually not say anything at all? Do I need to process for a while before I speak? Can I take some time to check whether this is my stuff or whether it's actual truth? Because if it's my stuff, I need to process that and not throw that at another person. Be evident as well. So before assuming somebody feels a certain way or something's going on for them, get evidence. So instead of that, you look so tired, which is rude, and upsets people, especially because that's such an assumption. But if you say that to someone, you need evidence. How are you? How are you doing? How's life? And then if they say, I'm really tired, you still don't go, well, you look really tired. But it's still that, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, anything we can talk about, or anything different going on in your life. And you can start a conversation from an empowered space instead of that presuming. So we don't have evidence when we presume. We just go, oh, I know what's happening. I'm going to project. I'm going to project. I'm going to project. This is what happened in my marriage. So yeah, this is definitely what's happening in yours. And this is what happens in all my friendships. So this is definitely what's happening in yours. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's not okay. Communicate directly. So instead of making assumptions, say what is really, really true and ask open-ended questions so you can understand what the other person's feeling, just as I mentioned there. So how's things? How's things going with your husband at the moment? And, oh, how are things at work? We haven't talked about that for a while. Ask questions and get some vibes going first before you presume. Presuming it's really in that triangle, and it's quite persecutory and often rescuey, and sometimes brings you back into the victim corner as well. Biggest thing here to learn about projection is to notice it within yourself always by becoming aware of it, which is hopefully what you're going to start doing now. But then have techniques. So have regular pranayama, breathing techniques daily. They regulate your central nervous system and emotional mental state, so you don't come from there all the time, so that you can heal, so that you can regulate and be in your soul when you're responding to people, so you can be of a higher vibration when you speak, act, take action. Meditation really gives you that mental and emotional balance so that you're able to come from a place of love and not from a place of trauma. Things like tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, hypnosis. I love all of those things. As you know, you can always reach out to me to help you with that. And of course, journaling is going to be one of the most powerful ways. And also talking to me. Notice it. I'm a projector. Or, oh, others are projecting on me. All right, I'm going to leave it there because, as you know, you can probably tell that's a subject I could talk about all day long. Thank you so much for listening, beautiful ones. Chat soon.